Peter Kassel, HealthySole. It is great to see you, my friend. What a great presentation you had and a turnout at LSI Dana Point. For the folks that weren't at the meeting in Dana Point, give us the 30-second elevator pitch. What is HealthySole? What problem are you solving? And let us know where you're at today.
Absolutely. Well, HealthySole is a product that uses UVC light to disinfect the soles of shoes. You step onto the platform, it shines UV light, and it kills 99.99% of the bacteria and pathogens, up to 99.99% of the pathogens on the soles of your shoes. The reason why this is important is I really try to sort of lay the groundwork. Think of dust in your home, how high up it goes, how it gets there. It's just through people moving through a space. We've seen that shoes are contributing to infections within hospitals. Shoes are causing a spread of pathogens that have been interacted with all day. Any patient you see, anybody you cross the path of, that's then following you into every patient room. That's then being in the air. That's then depositing on beds, handrails, instruments, touch surfaces, which then transfers to hands and transfers to patients. So what we are trying to do is essentially cut the line of transmission of what is the most contaminated object within any hospital, which is the soles of your shoes.
Incredible. And it makes me think, there's so much money that is being spent to prevent infections. So you think of things like drapes, gowns, gloves, and now masks. And it's such an obvious one, but one that you're attacking now. And that's, as you've described here, it's what our shoes, what our feet are doing to stir up all of those potential infections. And I think many of us have been touched by or know of people that go into a hospital with one issue and they either leave with a new one, or worse yet, they can't leave because they get stuck with an infection.
Once we developed the product, what we found is the reason it's been unaddressed, or the reason that nobody's talking about it, is because there's been no way of dealing with it before. UVC technology has offered us the opportunity of quickly, cleanly, without any liquids, without any chemicals, being able to address what is the most filthy object within a hospital. Not only the most filthy, but also the most portable. I mean, imagine sort of the irony within a place like a hospital, that the one object you will no doubt, without question, take with you every single place you go in the hospital is also the thing that is the most dirty, of course. I mean, it's your shoes. So now we've begun to see evidence of, so much of the sort of hand touch is the number one culprit of infection rates. But what we're seeing is the reason why touch surfaces are so dirty, instruments are so dirty, beds, patients, sheets are so dirty, is because what's on the floor doesn't stay there. You move through a room, you take a few steps, think of dust on top of your bookshelf at home. That same thing is happening with every single disease and bacteria you have come into contact with that day. And it's going from patient room to patient room to patient room. So what we saw with their product that had really begun as just sort of this fun experiment is we saw a product that was the perfect option for slotting into almost any current standing infection control protocol. 8 seconds, it's relatively small. You have no other process except for standing on the unit and continuing your day. And we liken it very much to washing your hands, but for the soles of your shoes. So you wash your hands, we see that the objects in your world, even if you're not cleaning them directly, magically become less sort of contaminated. We see the same with rooms. You use our object and we're finding less presence of C. diff or MRSA within hospital spaces with no other change happening. Just standing on the unit for 8 seconds and walking into a room, we're seeing a 30% reduction of C. diff on the walls. So that's really sort of the big picture.
That's incredible. Obvious big applications and opportunities are in hospitals, and look at the state of the world and everything that we've been going through for the last couple of years. But I'm wondering, at some stage down the road, are there applications outside the hospital? Is the hospital your initial target? What's potential for this product?
So the potential is actually shockingly very large. One of the things that happened with COVID was we had to look towards other verticals. Essentially, we were offering a sprinkler system to somebody whose house was already on fire. So hospitals were saying, this sounds great, but we can't implement a new protocol right now. We can't even stop to eat lunch. So we began to really need to find other places, and much to our surprise and pleasure, most of our new verticals actually came and found us. And so some of the new applications that we've seen are first responders, so police departments, fire departments, groups in which, you know, there's real financial cost to overtime. If you have too many guys out sick, you got to pay everybody else an enormous amount of money to be there, right, since you can't really sort of not have police officers and firemen. And as well, you know, they are sort of the nerve center of society. They interact with literally everyone. Even before COVID-19, we had been adopted by the LAPD because due to some of the sort of migrant homeless populations, they were contracting typhus and typhoid fever within their precincts. Mm-hmm. So they purchased our units and placed them in almost 30 precincts to cut down on the introduction of whatever they dealt with on their days. As well, a large supporter of us during this period of time was long-term extended care. You know, a hospital is always going to have new people coming in. Long-term extended care, if somebody in there gets sick, that's a really serious problem. And so we saw some very good it actually grew our business during that period of time, was having long-term extended care. Some of the other places that we've seen are sterile manufacturing, food manufacturing, mm-hmm, medical manufacturing, skincare products. I mean, there's so many places. And personally, what I see is a lot of opportunities where really anybody come together. Anybody who's a stranger being in close proximity to another stranger. Public restrooms, airports, malls, cruise ships, hotels, anywhere where sort of we all are, you know, office buildings. There's large applications for that, warehousing and food processing, such as butcheries and things like that. I personally think that the choice is endless. And then as well, in the future, we would like to look at re-examining the home market as well, making an affordable product, an affordable version of this technology so that anybody could have it.
Wow, it's incredible. And you just lined out for us so many different opportunities that are there. Mm-hmm. Your company's generating revenue.
Currently with HealthySole, what we've been looking to do is prepare for really a scaling up of operations. We are moving forward with a Regulation A+ raise. We want to get people on board, and we want to really let the world know that the product is here, that there's demand and interest in it, and that people understand that we've entered really a new period, in which we have to be very careful in how the global economy and the global sort of circulation works. We want to make sure that people are safe. So one of the biggest things we're doing is starting this raise, and we're looking also at finding all of the best sort of pilot programs and options in place so we can really get out there and have real world examples of the way the product works.
As you mentioned, you're embarking on a Reg A+ capital raise where really thousands of people can get involved in what it is that you're doing. So what's next for you? You raise the capital. What's the use of proceeds? How do you prioritize all of these incredible opportunities that you have? What is the thinking there?
Absolutely. Well, one of the thinkings is that we would like to really leverage distributors. And a lot of that takes capital and management. We don't really intend, or it would not be reasonable to hire salespeople for every single group. So one of the things that we would want to do is bring people on who really understand each of these verticals, have history there, can be autonomous and sort of approaching those groups and finding the right way to let that be known. The other is, and what I feel could be a really massive sort of push for us, is I would like to look at opening a in-house HealthySole office within Europe. Europe adopts technology like this much, much quicker than we do. They do pilot studies as opposed to random controlled studies. They understand some of the issues in terms of bias of studies that we sometimes have within the medical field. So what they'll do is they'll adopt it. Smaller countries have greater autonomy in that. They'll adopt it. They'll see how it worked. And so we would like to go to Europe and sort of leverage a lot of those EU connections that we've made just by selling customers and distributors who are interested in our product, and begin to try and do government funded pilot studies so that we could have and build really great evidence of the product working on sort of a large scale adoption.
You talk about all these other verticals where there are opportunities, and we're speaking in the short term about the opportunity in the hospital, but let's talk about infection control at a higher level and the way we view it today, and maybe the way we should start thinking about viewing it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that, infection control is seen as being something that's very much necessary for the medical facilities. And I think COVID has shown how quickly, if something sort of is a Goldilocks moment of how infectious it can be and sort of the way that it travels, that it can travel incredibly quickly all over the globe with almost no warning. And I think that, if you look at the way we deal with floors or just generally cleaning spaces, oh, my wife just came home. When you think about a lot of that kind of stuff, you can see that we have not addressed the way that we deal with public spaces very much. You vacuum, you mop, you move on with your day. Maybe you wipe touch surfaces. And I think that we're going to have a very large sort of examination of how people come together and the way that we're going to have to protect people as everybody continues to travel the world in a way that is far more complex than ever before.
So Peter, at LSI Dana Point, you had a product demo there, and it was quite an attraction. So for folks that just say have 30 seconds here, how does the product work? Do you literally just step on this device, you step off, and your feet are clean? Like, what's the sort of HealthySole for dummies description of how this thing works?
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. You literally stand on the unit. It just makes sure that you have your feet in the right place, and it exposes UV light to the soles of your shoes for 8 seconds. And we see up to 99.99% reduction of viruses, bacteria, and mold. Essentially, it's just shining a light on the sole of your shoe for 8 seconds, and that's all you need for the reduction.
That's incredible. So you can have a device like this potentially at the key entry points of, say, a hospital or an operating room. Physician, nurse, practitioner steps on the product, steps off, and they're in a 99 point percentage better position than they otherwise would have been.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons we chose 8 seconds, of course, you could always have it be longer. One of the reasons we chose 8 seconds, and we really tried to keep the price affordable for hospitals, is just like washing your hands. The more you do it, the greater the effect. And that's an exponential growth in terms of effect. So what we would like to see is, say, somebody really has an extremely important bone marrow transplant. Not only are there checkpoints in terms of entering and exiting, what we would want to do is have a couple of units strategically placed throughout. So if you're doing your rounds and going from patient to patient, if by chance there were some patient that had an issue, a parent that had an issue that they weren't aware of, maybe they have a cold but didn't realize the symptoms yet, you would know going from patient to patient that wasn't going to follow you around. Just like you wash your hands prior to seeing every patient as well as a healthcare professional. So the simplicity, the time factor, the cost factor all went into making sure that this could be adopted as much as possible, as much as would be convenient for a hospital to get back a really good return.
Congratulations. You guys clearly are checking several boxes. You're a technology that's solving a major problem. You have a simple solution. You're generating revenue. You're embarking on a really exciting time with respect to your capital raise. How do people get involved? If people are watching this video and they want to be a part of it, maybe they want to learn more about the technology, or they want to get in and be a part of the journey, how do they do it?
So what we tell people to do is go to HealthySole.com. Just take a look. We have a couple of studies there in terms of what we've done and where the problem is. And on the website, there will be an invest button where you could click and go see our SEC filing. You can see all of our investor deck and any of the information of the people who are involved. So, we would love for everybody to take a look because, frankly, I've been doing this for now 11 years. And I wouldn't be at this position now if I did not distinctly believe that this will be applied within the future. And we believe that we're the people to do it. We have a real lead start in that. And so I just would implore everybody to just take a look. really look at our studies and check out all of our investment, our investment packet to get an idea of how we've done thus far, how we've really sort of set a foundation for what we believe is a really exciting future.
Very exciting. I really appreciate you letting us learn a little bit more about where you're at. Looking forward very much to getting an update from you and your team at LSI Europe. And if there's anything we can do to support you along the way, please let us know. Encourage everybody to reach out, check the website, learn a little bit more, and let's all get on board with HealthySole's mission here. Thanks.
Well, thanks so much.